of these great leaders' achievements.
Welcome back, and moving on to our first segment for today. I'm talking about the important meeting of the United National Security Council that took place, talking about the current situation in Gaza and the Israeli attacks against the civilians in Gaza. Well, over the phone we have Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Doctor. So first
Good
of
morning.
all, how did you see this meeting that took place regarding the importance of the ceasefire over there and allowing the humanitarian aid to the Gaza civilians?
Yes, the meeting really stressed that there is an urgency of protecting civilians, and unrestricted aid delivery should be there, along with avoiding regional configuration and immediate ceasefire, because the continuation of these atrocities would create a much more worse situation for everyone, not for one party or another. So I think that the meeting was, these ideas were expressed in the meeting, but the problem is that we don't have a resolution. This is a very, very tough issue. You can call it a disaster that no one is capable of issuing with this structure of the United Nations a decisive resolution to stop the killing of innocents.
Yet they were not able even to reach an agreement or a resolution to reach the ceasefire that we are talking about.
You know what is the problematic thing more than that? That when the Secretary General Antonio Guterres made his statement saying that what happened is not nothing comes, as if he made Shakespearean statement, nothing comes out of nothing, when he said what happened did not happen in a vacuum. And he stated that the Palestinians are suffering for decades, and there is no any excuse for punishing the entire Palestinian people. And despite the Secretary General described the act of Hamas as a terror act, this is not important for the Israelis, who really called for his resignation. They were very angry. They made so many tough statements like they will never give visa for any of the employees of the United Nations. They asked for his resignation, and the man tried to be balanced. But no balance is needed. Actually, what is happening is language of extremes, unfortunately.
Sir, when we talk about the current critical situation, actually, we have here two different levels we are talking about when it comes to the international community. Well, we have the leadership on one side and we have the citizens on the other side. And we have seen many people from all around the world, actually, they are supporting Palestinians and they are against such an attack and attacking such civilians, and the victims basically are women and children. So how do you see the impact of this on the international level on one side, and the impact on the whole world on the other side? Do you think they can put more pressure on their leadership?
I think, yes. There should be a pressure on the leadership all over the world, And this is what is taking place actually. The masses of the people are no longer convinced or persuaded by the propaganda machine that really decontextualize what is happening in Palestine. Actually, what is happening is repeated. It is not the first time that we can witness such a thing like that. We had rounds. I would tell you that I wrote an article in Al Ahram 2002. This means that like 23 years ago, about the critical context. Thomas Friedman, the celebrated writer in the New York Times, wrote something along the what is the critical context that Arabs and Arafat and the Palestinians did not understand. He was talking about Camp David II, and when Arafat rejected the very poor offer over there, he accused him of leaving the peace and going to Hamas and Hezbollah and left the table where he was offered something he felt great, but it does not meet the rights of the Palestinians, of course. So he mentioned something about returning to Hamas, and the Hamas is a terrorist group, etc., etc. And I said that this is not the critical context. The critical context is like the context the General Secretary mentioned. At that time when Boutros Ghali was there, at this time when Guterres is here, I said in that article that if you remove Hamas, there will be another movements. Call it Hamas, name it, name whatever you like. Because these movements, whether Hamas or Hezbollah, and I'm not defending anyone, but I'm saying, stating the truth, they came as a reaction to a brutal occupation. Oh, okay, if occupation continues to be brutal and fascist with all this siege and all these practices, with the settlements being built, rejection of international laws, Palestinian grievances are not listened to or acted upon. So I think that there could be something like someone would say enough is enough. And here is the statement, yes, nothing comes out of nothing. If the Israelis are not able to see the real critical context, not the fake critical context as they try to make everyone, they would like everyone to believe their propaganda machine. And this what did not happen with the masses all over the world. And we have seen great demonstrations in London, in Paris, in the Arab world, in Egypt, of course. Yeah, you have seen all of that people are not convinced. People know the realities of the situation. And I think that the Israelis are adopting self-defeating strategy. We want peace. We want settlements. We don't want killing of innocents. We want sustainable development. I think these are legitimate rights that people are asking for, and there should be a positive response. I remember that President Carter must be remembered. President Carter and President Sadat together. We know there is now in the United States, among intellectuals and among fair-minded people, a statement like how the two presidents were repudiated now. No one can remember what happened with the two presidents who really came up and overcome all the barriers of peace with, and they came up with the Camp David Accords, which lasted till today. I think it was based on win-win approach. We restored our land and we had relations with Israel. So why there is a zero-sum game why we are not remembering the good tracks, why the Americans are not playing the good mediator as Carter did. And this is a voice inside the United States of America and the voices outside of the United States of America too.
Well, sir, just as you are talking right now, and actually it's very sad because definitely we can all now understand, and of course the whole world is aware of the fact that it did not start on the 7th of October. People are dying in Palestine, in Gaza for years. It didn't start at that time. And the most important part that you can never, like this, you want to eradicate people, the citizens, the victims, or the civilians over there. The point is that, as you mentioned, we're talking about, if you are talking about Hamas or any other factor, well, definitely we're not talking about names. They are generations delivering what this generation is delivering to the other, to continue. So it is not a matter that you can just get rid of them after killing all these victims in Gaza. So the point is now that, yes, for many of the different international leadership, they are supporting Israel to defend themselves. Yet again, what kind of pressure can be put on Israel to stop killing these people? Because as the leadership, they can see the only way to get out is to satisfy Israel, and they will move the Palestinians from Gaza to Sinai. And of course, this can never be a solution. So talking about the international community, the Arab community, how can they put more pressure on Israel to stop this attack?
Actually, of course, when it comes to diplomacy, yes, there are so many moves that Arabs should take. And I think that the press conference held in the United Nations by the four foreign ministers of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Palestine, they said something along this line, and they are trying their best to exert all efforts to practice diplomatic pressures. And I think when our foreign minister was asked about how he could put pressure by a foreign correspondent in that press conference, he said, according to the developments, but he expressed his real deep sorrow that the entire United Nations and the Security Council and the world powers are not able so far to exert the needed effort for getting a solution to this protracted conflict and that erupts from one time to another, and it threatens everyone in the world if violence is fired and if it's spreading. And it could be in the direction of what we call in crisis management, a crisis slide. No one wants this crisis slide. So pressure should be there by diplomatic efforts, much more diplomatic efforts, much more, I don't know, politicians should come up and say something about how could we do that. This is a question that really needs leaders to ask.
When we talk about Israel, on one side, that they allow themselves to defend themselves against people who have no weapons, and they are not allowing others to defend themselves, if we're talking about the people in Gaza, who are really in actually deteriorating situation. So talking about this on one side and what Israel gained out of all this, the hatred from all the people all around the world. Again, I'm talking about citizens in general. So how do you see this? How are they thinking of this point? They don't even care or taking this into consideration that, yes, they gained more hatred.
Yes. Of course, as you put it cogently, yes, more hatred is gained actually because when you kill people like that, and the killing is now on the screens all over the world, and you see the suffering of children. Palestinians have already lost 6,000 souls, martyrs. Half of them are children, and this is a disaster, a great disaster, and nobody in the world. I'm not talking about what we could gain when you raise a slogan, Israel has the right to act and to defend itself. Nobody can say no, but you defend yourself against military targets, not against civilian targets. You know, the kind of plans they claim and they asserted, unfortunately, about transfer to Sinai and to Egypt is unbelievable. It's crazy. It tells you about someone who doesn't want to live in peace and try to create a submersive situation in a neighboring country that really honored the peace and honored the accords and throughout the different leadership. You know, so that signed the treaties in Camp David, and this was maintained by all the leaders who came after Sadat, and the Egyptian people is co-living well with this. So why you are trying to destroy this? This is a question for the Israelis. Why you are trying hard to destroy these accords? You will get nothing but more hatred and self-defeating strategy for yourself, unfortunately.
Right. Also talking about the current situation and talking about the awareness of the new generation, because usually when we talk about this, people who lived many different struggles in the past, they understand and they really know how it all started. But even for the new generations now, that even we can see children, young children in schools, they have their own demonstrations and they are participating in sending and collecting more aid to support for the humanitarian aid given to Gaza.
Yes, what is the question here?
So here I want to talk how important it is when it comes to the role of the social media and also of the awareness among the new generation.
Actually, when it comes to the social media, we have a very complicated situation. Yes, social media should be used to raise humanitarian aid. Also, it should be used in social media and other channels when it comes to children, as you mentioned. You know, we have to have like some sort of counseling experts who really can handle the feeling of the kids who really witness all these violence around them, and this and what it should create now and in the future in their mind. This is a dangerous thing. And also, when you are talking about social media, here is another issue. Yes, social media should help in raising good issues like getting humanitarian aid, unrestricted humanitarian aid, etc., etc. But the problem here is that some of these social media tracks, like Facebook and stuff like that, they are really slowing anything that is critical and objective and fair-minded and enhancing, unfortunately, the machine, the Western Israeli machine for decontextualizing. And this is also another drawback of what's happening in this managing this crisis. So the voices of fake statements, fake motivation, unfair dealing with, in the final analysis, unfair dealing with the Palestinian civilians who are really bombed unfairly, and this would create a very, very dire situation and a grave situation and a threatening situation.
Right. And how do you see the Arab solidarity and its impact and effectiveness in this respect?
Actually, when it comes to all the people in the Arab world, yes, if the Israelis care about normalization and what we have seen about this, what was called Abraham normalization, no way that the masses would accept anything like that or any normalization, so long as the Israelis are doing what they are doing and they are creating hatred, creating creating revenge in the generations. Actually, if they are not aware of that, they are really, as I've said, they are really deploying a very self-defeating strategy. If anyone cares about real peace, they should be advised to give up what they are doing now.
Right. Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science, thank you very much for joining us. And moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back with more on The Breakfast Show.
نحن جند الله جند الوطن إن دعا داعي الفداء لم نخن فدائي 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 يا أرضي يا أرض الجدود فدائي 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 يا شعبي يا شعب الخلود
من زمان بيارة جميلة وضوء